Hello everybody, Brian here from quantlabs.net. We are now doing a new analysis on the eve of April 13th, Friday 13th. So today is our lucky day. Alright, so first thing first, if you go to my YouTube channel, Quant Labs, what you'll find is a new video I just posted a few hours ago. And what it focuses on is a new set of charts that I'm using to replace the Matplotlib. So these are more professional looking charts with dates and blah blah blah. It's only a 10-minute video or 9-minute video. You can watch that, called Introducing New Trading Charts with Moving Averages Cross Signals. So these charts are now changing the analysis of how I do things. First things first, we've talked about the patterns, and I'm strictly using the patterns. I'm not generating any more flat files or Excel files. I personally know that people aren't going to use them. I'm just going to look at charts and whatever the system uses. So essentially, I'm just going to use the patterns to basically add them to a watch list and just wait it out for a better timing for when to go into the markets. But down the road, I'll be able to build better automated analysis to gauge the risk of the instrument based upon historical performance against the performance of the portfolio, and then decide to take on that position or not and properly allocate it with that. So maybe you see some of my portfolio stuff. Anyways, so here are all the patterns. Okay, as I said, be introducing this on Monday. We've got a couple of different types of patterns. You might have seen the different videos I've put out on patterns on the current strategy. Is really just to focus on bullish sentiment, not bearish. I mean, these are clearly shorting opportunities when you see bearish, but I just want to focus on bullish itself and leave it at that and go with that. All right, so we're going to look at, again, the traditional commodity, currencies, equity, only the bullish. And then I'm going to pull up the proper associated charts that I've created that are new for the strict purpose of doing some analysis, and you'll see how radically different they are. They're a lot more professional, if you ask me. So let me pull up those. Now, before I continue, I just want to show you how simplified I've gotten things. So here are all the analysis and processing that I have run to generate these charts. This one here for the charts themselves, just as an example, you can see here there's a new subdirectory called charts, obviously. Let me just pull up the stats on this, and I'll show you how fast it is doing the automated way versus as a human. So for instance, I have the ability now to generate over 1169 charts in less than a minute, and that's with 100 instruments. So this is how I've done it. So first, I've broken everything up into number of trading days. Very critical you understand that. It's a number of trading working days, not including weekends. So here we have 240, which is a full year. 60 days would represent a quarter, and 20 days would represent a month, and then obviously a week. 5 days would represent a week. So I've broken down those periods. Now the other thing is I'm not going to be looking at intraday at all at this point, because I have, from my testing, seen that intraday trading is really just another way of saying I'm scalping, which gives you kind of pennies in returns if you are not picking the right instruments that will give you maximum performance. So from what I've tested, you can get amazing returns when you let the position run for multiple days. Just from what I'm seeing alone in the forex world. Of course, that may be different in the currencies and equity, but we'll give it a run and see where it goes. Okay, so let's go back to our signals. So the first area I'm going to look for are the bullish signals for the commodity, which we have here is Bitcoin, copper, and that's pretty well. Those are the only two bullish patterns that we're generating here. So if I go under the Bitcoin, now Bitcoin is quite different from all the other types of instruments I can watch because of the volatility. Now, we'll just show you what's been happening in the trends and stuff. Here's the overall trend in the markets for the last year. It's starting to, well, it's including obviously the stellar performance back in December, or the lead up. So we need to factor that in. And again, we have the signals as well. And I've talked about the, in my previous video I just recorded earlier today regarding these charts, is the crosses of the buy and sell signals on the moving averages of these periods here on the SMA of 5 and SMA of 20. So that needs to be understood there. Now, this is the really good one on the Bitcoin moving averages over the year. So when you look at the overall performance, it has been a steady downtrend. Now, one thing in this chart here in the moving averages, we should be seeing green bars instead of just all red. I don't know if that's a bug from Chart Director, but I'll have to get that fixed. But we can see here that there has been steady momentum up until mid-January, and then going into 2018, it's been somewhat choppy and just overall on a steady decline. And we'll look at that in a minute on Bitcoin. And here is the cool part about the RSI as well. So I've included that in this moving average chart. So the Fibonacci levels, which is I've introduced earlier. Now, we want ultimately a price to be at least below this pink level 2 to make it worthwhile to buy into. So obviously you can tell that the price of Bitcoin has been clobbered somewhere and beaten down closer to level 2 in the Fibonacci levels. So here, when we break it all down into the 90-day or 60 working days trend, we'll start to see that there has been a steady decline over the last 3 months with Bitcoin. But when you historically look at the performance of Bitcoin, we see a pop here in around March 4th. We are now historically seeing that where there is these pops of Bitcoin pricing, but there's still an overall general trend. So we're just meeting our next cross here. So we'll look at that in the other charts. But historically, do keep that in your mind. But Bitcoin is more driven by news than anything else. Here, when you look at the signals, there's been virtually no signals. I think the last signal was selling. The moving averages has slowed down quite a bit, with our EMA now obviously higher than the other two 20 and 50 SMAs. So it's definitely a long-term trend here. But when you look at the last period here, there's been a sudden spike in a selling on the volume. RSI is still undervalued, but clearly since March 7th, you can see it's been below the 50 mark on the RSI, as well as the momentum. Again, historically, we see it builds, drops off. So even around between the 13th and the 19th, it dips. And I'm going to say 13th, 14th, 15th, 16th, 17th, 18th, 19th. So we're looking around March 17th where it built the momentum and just dropped off once it hit zero again. So a good indicator of entry, you would have to see the pricing on this particular chart on the quarterly as an entry for Bitcoin to hit the zero momentum, it looks like historically, to make it worthwhile even to go, yes, I'm interested in this instrument. But let me just see here. I just did something wrong here. Let me just, see if this will maximize. I guess not. Okay, it doesn't matter. Okay, but you can see here, the last cross we had was March 25th, and it's just been selling all that time, just a downward pressure. But what we need to factor in is looking at what the institutions are doing to the price of Bitcoin, because that's really who's driving that. So when you look at Bitcoin, obviously it's been beaten down pretty bad below all levels. Question is the turn. So let's take a look at our monthly. Let's compare this trend versus the trend over the last quarter has definitely seems to somewhat slow down a tiny bit, but I don't know. Is there any signaling? There's been virtually no signaling, meaning the SMAs have not crossed at all. Moving average is same. There was one here. That was the last. That was a selling. Looks like a selling signal, quite possibly back around March 25th. Fibonacci we know is going to be. Oh, what am I doing? We want to look at the monthly. My apologies there. Okay, so let's look at the monthly of the signal. Not enough data there. Moving averages. You can see here in the RSI, it's clearly undervalued. But you see here on the RSI here around April 7th, when that RSI did go into where it was worth buying into, the price seems to have stabilized somewhat and then popped up a tiny bit. So understand that. But here we have a selling volume, which has driven down the value of Bitcoin, the price. So I'm not going to go any further with Bitcoin. Something I don't think I'd be all too excited about. But we can take a look at the copper. So once again, breaking down from the yearly. Good trend, slight up. There's a buy signal here. And that was for, on the yearly, April, I'm going to say early April. Moving average. It's across, the spread has been starting to widen. Momentum has started to build. RSI at 30, and that is, I don't know the exact time, late March, let's say. Okay, so the Fibonacci, let's see the pricing level. Yeah, so it is within our golden zone, which is good, between the level 2 and 3. So copper is nicely priced. Let's check out the trend on the, this is quarterly. Now, copper's coming off, looks like. We have a buy signal still, and that would have been roughly, I think, April 3rd. Moving averages gone up, come back down, it looks like. Yeah. Still within our proper range. Fibonacci, I'm sure it's still undervalued, which is good. Okay, so let's take a look at our monthly. So it did build up and it's come back down, but the trend is still trending up. You can see here historically it came back down roughly around April 3rd approximately, dropped and then bounced back, broke through the trend, but we'll be able to see better in the not enough data here in the signaling. Okay, so what's going on here? So we can see here that April 11th, 2 days ago, it did touch the upward RSI, which people don't like. That killed off the momentum. Yeah, so quite an interesting factoid there. Fibonacci still within our, so it just, I see. So what happened was historically it was overpriced, came back down into our zone that we want on the Fibonacci level. So again, I guess I can look at the 5-day. Yeah, let's see what's happening in the moving out. This is tough to work with. I might need to improve that. Fibonacci got clobbered because it just got historically overpriced, it looks like. All right, so yeah, that's copper. Okay, so that's the commodities. So why don't we factor in the equities. See what's kind of hot right now. Our Deutsche Bank looks still pretty good. Let me just pull up, that's DB1. I think that is, sorry, that's Deutsche, the index. So Deutsche Bank, let's see the upward trend. Not much, that's not very steep. Doesn't really excite me. Even amount of, I don't like the looks of this. Yeah, I don't know, too choppy. I mean, there's a slight uptrend from what, 90 back in December, let's say, from 90. Well, I guess that's a good 10%, maybe just slightly over 10% return. That's not bad, actually, when you look at that. But you can see there's a momentum, some overbought conditions. Again, it came off because it hits that 70 on the RSI. So that clearly seems to work somehow, where it just breaks through that RSI 70 level, overvalued, runs for, who knows, maybe a couple of days, and then just comes off again. And it happened again, but this time it didn't break through, but it came off quite a bit and brought it back within range, which would then mean it may go back up, historically speaking, that is. Fibonacci's, let's see what the pricing level is. As you can see here, it does, if it gets overpriced, it just comes back down. That's what's probably driving that price. But if we look at the quarterly general trend, that's classic mean reverting right there. But it does have an uptrend from 104 in, I'm going to estimate, mid-February, 103 to a peak of 114. Again, that's roughly about a 10% return. I don't know the exact, but it's not bad for the last 2 months, because we did say that would be a good one about 2 weeks ago. But you can see here, we have here a buy signal around March 30th, and then it just clearly hits historically a certain price level here, and it just doesn't break through, but it will historically mean revert up. So that might be a nice way to add 10% if the performance stays the same over the next few months. Here with the moving averages, it just got clobbered. And again, you can see why, because the RSI just keeps knocking it back down, and then it just breaks those levels at the RSI, which historically you can see here just drives down the price. That's classic technical analysis trading. The Fibonacci level, it is back into our zone, so that probably will drive the price back up. And then I don't even know if the monthly is worthwhile. Wow, it got driven down quite a bit. But again, you'll see most likely, historically, it'll just mean revert up and give you probably a nice 10% return over the next few months. But yeah, that RSI is really driving it. Boom, and it gets knocked back. Pretty cool how that seems to work in classic technical and analytical ways. Okay, so we've got a bullish here on the Deutsche Bank. Let's see what else we have. We have the Spanish. Now this is kind of confusing. We got a bullish and a bearish. I'm not going to bother with that. The EUS. We got two bullish patterns here. Let me just see what the EUS is. Guess we can't do a search. There we go. So EUS is Euro Stocks 50. So we got two patterns here. Let's see here. That's what these are. EUS. And again, once again, the data does come from Dukascopy. See, EUS IDX. Let's see what the long-term says on our 240. Downward trend. It's breaking through, though. That might be an opportunity. So when it does do that, let's see, it goes from 3,500 to peak at 3,650. You know, I'm just going to bring up that calculator. So 33, so that would go to 3,650 divided by roughly 3,500. So it's going to give you a 4% increase, I believe. Not very good at these things, but yeah, so that would be over how long? So here we are dealing with January, probably looks like 3 weeks roughly. This one took October 2017 till about 1 month. So if you're looking at getting roughly, I'm going to estimate around a 5% return over a month, you could do that. Okay, so let's see the signaling. Yeah, there's that buy signal right there, early April. Moving average. This RSI is quite interesting to watch this. You can see here, as soon as that hits, price comes off. As soon as that hits here, just about here, it just goes in this weird choppy mode and it stays there. But once it breaks through, it seems to just this time here at this level, it just kind of panicked. That was back in third week of January, I'm in the estimate. I'm telling you, these charts are a godsend. So again, we have some signaling here, a buy, and our averages are just coming together now, where if they come together, that might be a confirmation. As you can see here, it's not very far off from the overbought, but I think historically what that will tell you is as soon as these cross, as let's see here, when was our last? You know what? I will take a look at the signaling. So it does go into a choppy mode, like here. And you want to watch that spread between the two moving averages on the 20 and the 5. So interesting to watch. But that again is over a year. So once again, we can. So it is undervalued, and that's probably why people are piling in. And there's probably too many traders that bring the volume too high. Yeah, you can see here. No, let's see here. Actually, it's quite quiet. And then all of a sudden, it just got went into quite a steep drop here, and then hits the lower RSI and came back somewhat. So, but let's check out the 60-day or the 90-day. So the trend has come off. It has broken through. And what do we expect? So historically, it says that it should come back down. Again, mean revert. So they're signaling saying how to sell here, and it's peaked. I bet you that spread is as high as it's going to get, or as wide as it's going to get. So we're moving average here. Yeah, see, as you approach that RSI here, not historically compared to other periods, like here on, I'm going to estimate, if I count back, I could probably do it. I'm just going to say late February sometime. It did hit that RSI and just went down quite a bit. So still, well, it's not quite, it's overbought, so, or overvalued, so that might drive down the price itself. Should I look at the monthly? Why not? Now the monthly's back into an uptrend, but it's been oscillating quite a bit to the trend on the monthly, signaling not enough data. What's our moving average telling us? not doing a lot. And then the RSI is hitting around the 9th, 10th, just breaking through that RSI. Fibonacci, it's still too high historically, so who knows? That's an interesting one, but doesn't telling me to jump in. EWJ, let's see what that one is. EWJ, what are you? EWJ, No, it's European something. Might be better if I just go to, where are you? Okay. Don't know if this will do anything. Yeah, it doesn't say a lot. iShares. Oh, so that's Japan. Okay, so that would be an important one to watch. EWJ Gartley found on a pattern. That was tonight. So let's see what it says here. EWJ. That one has been a top performer. You can see, been really good. Breaks through the trend from 57 to 64. So that's a nice return actually over, I'm going to say November till just late July. Got clobbered, still under trend. Most people won't probably enter into the market until that breaks through and there's some momentum that builds. But we can, as you know, break it down by quarterly. So here we just got a basic buy signal at the beginning, came back, and we had, I don't know why, but didn't break through, but it's bouncing on that the average of the SMA 20. So the moving averages, it seems to be consolidating here over this period here, which we don't want. We don't tie up capital in consolidated mode. It's within our range on the Fibonacci, which is good. So it's our monthly. So it's in a down trend. The signaling, there was a signal late March, and that was it. And interesting. Moving average seems to have momentum is definitely dropping off, going actually negative. It is normal range within the RSI. The Fibonacci is now been brought back within our zone. Let's see the monthly now. It did break through the monthly trend, didn't go anywhere. So back in March 27th, it looks like it broke through that monthly trend. So from 59 and a quarter roughly to a peak of just under 60, 75 and brought back. It just has not gone anywhere. Nope. Moving average, yeah, it's momentum's definitely dropped off. Definitely has dropped off. Okay, bearish, bearish, bearish. France might be an interesting one. France, two patterns here that have been caught on the bullish side. This might be a surprise. So let's look at the 1 year. There you go. It's breaking, potentially just touching the breakthrough on that trend on the 5,300. And that's just very, very, very recently. So that may go places. So they're signaling, saying we got a signal early April. That average, yeah, it's done all right. Spread between the averages have picked up. Yeah. Historically, it's in our zone that we want. That's good. Here's a quarterly trend. Now it's starting to come off. So who knows? This may have been a missed opportunity. Buy signal early April. So the price has gone up a little bit to roughly from 5150 to 5300 the course of a few weeks, so about 5% move roughly. Once again here, just hitting the upper band of the RSI, and it just drops off on the momentum. Once again, very close to, well, actually just outside the upper band on that level 1 on the Fibonacci. That's the quarterly. So let's see how, so we got over the last month, we got an upward trend from 50.50 to 52.50. So that's another about a % move over the last 30 days or 20 working days. No signaling there. Moving averages, suddenly people piling in. That's a very strange, is it the momentum's down, but the RSI still historically over the last month fairly expensive. Yeah, it's a little bit too expensive. Okay, so what's the other ones that we want to look at? GBR bearish, so that's Britain's bearish, bearish. YR, so the Japanese index again. So the one previously was the ETF for Japan, so now we have an index. This is our last index actually. We won't bother with the LSE, but we have here two patterns. Japanese index. Remember, these are CFD products, so it's under the trend. This is probably why it's doing all right. Let me just get rid of this stuff. Moving averages. Again, we know it's gone into choppy mode. You can see here, you can see upward momentum, just going over, but there's a lot of momentum here. Very strong momentum, actually. And it's within our historical zone for the year, which is pretty good. Actually, let me just make sure I'm... Yes, it is. Okay, so now we look at the quarterly trend, slightly down. Momentum builds, or the price builds. And our last, looks like around March 5th. Sorry, April 1st was the last buy signal. The signaling. Okay, so slightly above on the RSI. Momentum is normalized, so there is no momentum. So this may be a time to get in if you were to. So it's just slightly above our range, actually, between level 1 and 2 on the Fibonacci. Trend now starts to take off, but again, historically right here, for March 22nd, it breaks through, stays on the trend for a couple of days, breaks through at 2800, jumps up to 21,400, but 2150. So that's roughly a 5% move over from over 2 days. It's pretty good, 5%. Here, it kind of, but didn't go anywhere. So it's below the trend. So signaling not enough there. Moving average, what does that say? You can see why momentum is slowing down, but the RSI, it just is hovering at overvalued right now for the last month. Let's see what the Fibonacci says. Yeah, it's overpriced right now, but that's over historically over a month. I don't want to look at these 5-day trends, but actually the trend is still fairly strong. That's no good. Yeah, that's why I don't like using these. 5-day on the Fibonacci. Yeah, it's still, momentum's definitely there though for the Japanese. So yeah, that's that. That's probably your best bet right now is the Japanese index still to buy into. Let's check out the last one, which is our currencies or forex. Let's see what we got here. We got quite a few bullish signals. So the first one we're looking at is a couple of bullish signals for the Australian Swiss franc. Let's see here. So many charts, so little time. CHF, okay. 20 trend down. But you can see it's broke through. But again, when you break through historically, you can see here just sometime in December, it did break through, went from 0.750 to 0.770. That percent-wise is not a huge move, but that is something to be worthy on. What's our signal saying? Did get that same buy signal at the beginning, the moving average. But you can see here, it's going to guarantee it, I bet you. Right here, the RSI, what happens, goes into chop, 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 pops a little bit. Right here, it hits the RSI, comes back down, and just oscillates. And here, it's just still way too high, to me, in my opinion. But the momentum has built. But the very little moves in terms of the valuation. It is undervalued, but it's coming back. Okay, let's see the quarterly. Quarterly turn, it's starting to turn. Signal, we got one April 3rd. It's just hitting those our upper band on the RSI momentum. I don't like those. Now it's broken through the overvaluation on the 90-day. Trend on, it's starting to build definitely. But here would have been a good time to buy. Roughly, I'm going to guess at April 10th, 2 days ago. And see if there was any signaling. No. Definitely volume started to pick up around April 10th. You can tell from here, but it's still fairly expensive. And you can tell historically on a monthly that it's definitely just on the monthly it is overpriced, but I'd probably look at the yearly. It's still underpriced historically. And let's see this here. Monthly, it's broken through, but historically over the year, it's still undervalued. And if I wanted the weekly, the trend is still strong. Actually, it's getting stronger. I'm not going to look at that. So it did skirt undervalued around April 9th, and it's been picking up since then. So who knows? There might be some validity to that signal. Okay, but you can see here there's three charts generated. So 3 patterns generated, that's pretty strong. So when you compare that to the Japanese yen, sorry, the Australian dollar against the Japanese yen, what does that look like? Again, it's in a downtrend, but you can see it's just breaking through. Signaling, we got early January. Moving average, it has broken through again. Momentum's built. Quite a few positive buyers, so I'm going to guess here. This might be another one. It's across here. Actually, we can look at the signaling. So we did get that signal back in early April. The Fibonacci, historically, how we've been doing, undervalued again. So that's probably one of the reasons why it's picking up. Okay, trend. This is a quarterly downtrend still, broke through roughly April 14th. The signaling, that's going to be April 3rd. There was a buy signal then. That would have been a nice time to buy in if you wanted. And you can see the spread did take off between 80 to just under 82.5 and 81.5. So that's a full pip or a full. That's quite the move actually. And maybe if you were to short it, you get the opposite effect. Moving averages. Yeah, it's getting very close to that overpriced value momentum. I think it could still go up. You can see here around March, I'm going to say March 12th roughly, it bounced around and then just suddenly came off. So who knows? Fibonacci at in our price zone. That's the monthly. Let's see what this says. See, it's just starting to hit those overbought conditions historically. Yeah, it's broken through overvalued over the last month historically as well. But this would have been a good buy a few days ago. All right, so with the Australian, New Zealand, let's see how this is looking. Australia, New Zealand signaling. Okay, so let's see how the trend looks for that. This is a bullish. It's far off from that. There was a buy signal just before mid-March, and then a sell signal. It's been going down since. Moving averages. Yeah, see, right here, it might be why this is getting flagged for a pattern, because it's been hovering under bought, but so what? You look at here, it popped a tiny bit, but the general trend has been down. I wouldn't be going any further than that. Next bullish is the Euro Canadian. Let's see what that says. The Euro CAD. What's the trend looking like for the year? It's up. It's under. Signaling had a sell, which it did sell. Moving average. Hits are over, but I see what's going on. Okay, so historically the RSI is in its lower band, so that's probably what's driving that. When you look at this one here for roughly, I don't know, just before mid-January, look what happened. It popped and it went from roughly 150 all the way up to a peak of 160. Hits the upper RSI. You even get the early warning that, and then just comes back since. So, and here is another one. We hit our RSI roughly around here, and it starts to trend up, builds more, and who knows? This could be something. Let's check out our Fibonacci. It's just coming into our zone that we want, which is good. That's something exciting, actually. So this might be an interesting pair to get into. Trend. Now again, this is quarterly. It's been beaten down, but still has that uptrend. Signaling had a sell, downward momentum. Moving average. It's going down. Again, we can confirm that RSI is being, and like once that upper RSI, in this case March, call it 7th, peak momentum, what happens? We get just a sudden drop off. Fibonacci, same. Hits that $1.60, comes back down, so on and so forth. but it's been a downward trend. There'd have to be some positive news to really. It's a signaling looking like not enough. Yeah, it's been selling volume, but something may trigger that to turn. It's been just hammered down pretty bad. Okay. You'll notice here I'm not really analyzing the 5-day charts because they're just kind of outside the trend. Signaling's no good. The moving averages are just no good. Fibonacci is still useful. All right, so let's check out our next set of bullish. So the euro US dollar. All right. That might be something small but worthy to play. Okay, euro US dollar. Look at that, it's had a nice uptrend, crossing that trend line with the signaling, but it's just been in a choppy mode with even buy, sell, buy, sell. It's basically been going nowhere. I think this is just noise possibly. Yeah, it's just been hitting choppiness. I don't think, well, I guess what we need to watch for is something to say, yes, we do have a breakout, but the momentum's average, the RSI range is normal or average, and it's slightly above our what we want. So that's a yearly. So let's check out what's going on. Slight, just classic mean reverting, slightly down, just virtually going nowhere. Doesn't do anything for me. Okay, we got two patterns here generated for the British pound and the Japanese yen. Let's see what we got going on here. GBP, Japanese yen. Yeah, same thing. It hits that trend. That's what's driving these patterns. So there's a definite relationship between those two. The signaling, we had signaled back early, sometime, I'll say March 10th roughly. And yeah, signaling, moving average, what does it say here? This is for the annual. Just bouncing around between $1.45 and $1.50, $1.55. And you can use definitely the RSI on when that turn's going to happen, because here, and very big time, but even if it hits the upper RSI, just stays in this choppy mode. Moving on. I really don't like that. It's just not enough trend there. So we get the pound, US dollar. Okay. That's a nice trend. But again, it's just oscillating there. So we just had recently a buy signal. If you look at that spread may take off. Same here. Same here. It's not too bad actually. Moving averages. What I'm afraid of is this choppy again. Chop, chop, chop. I mean, the overall has not moved. We're talking the beginning a year ago, roughly 130 all the way up to $1.42 over the last year. And since January, mid-January, let's call it, it's been in a choppy, oh, cool. New hot button to play with. Okay, Yeah, I'm not liking that either. Okay, so our next one's the US dollar and Swiss franc. Let's see what this one says. US dollar CHF. Where are you? Downtrend, broke through. Not liking it. Bounce back, on from 0.93 to 0.96. Very small moves. I don't like it. 0.92 to $1. Well, 10%, but that is, I don't know. Don't know. It is in the zone. Something to watch. Okay, so 60-day trend from 0.935 to 955. Don't know. Compared to other momentum, 5% in a course of a couple of weeks is something I'm more into. But this is 0.925 to, yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure what I can say about this one. There's very little signaling here. And still in a choppy mode there. Don't like it. Okay, so we got bearish, 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 bearish. They're all bearish except for the DKK, the Danish. That's our last one to look at. Oh, so just in case you wanted to know what a pattern looks like, that's one. That's a bullish. So right here, I bet you it's the trend. Bet you it's the yearly trend. Right here, boom shakalaka, like a boom. Downward trend. Hit that trend, bounces off it. And again, just choppy since February, early February. Is that going to go anywhere? Who knows? I don't know. I think there's better things to watch with better momentum. Yeah, I don't know. It's undervalued. It's been undervalued since late January. Has not gone anywhere. Last 60 days, slight improvement. 0.604. Yeah, it's too small. The only thing I see that's worthwhile putting money into is still the Japanese yen, but there's not a lot of momentum. But if you have balls of steel, you might want to try out the cryptocurrencies. But the only one I see that's worthwhile is definitely the Japanese yen. But I'll build better rankings for this, so I don't have to go through this. But I want to show you the new charts and how it looks. Hopefully I'll help you out. Talk to you later.